Having an elite wide receiver is arguably the most important thing in an offense outside of the quarterback position. No team knows that more than the Minnesota Vikings. Since he entered the league, Justin Jefferson has not only grittied his way up the ranks of top pass catchers, but he's also on pace to become one of the greatest receivers of all time. If J.J. McCarthy pans out, Justin Jefferson will break record after record and will go down as maybe the greatest wide receiver and the greatest Minnesota Viking of all time. And he shouldn't have even been a Viking in the first place. In 2020, Jefferson somehow fell all the way to the 22nd overall pick in the draft, falling right in the Vikings' lap. But how? How did someone this talented at football fall that far? What happened to the players that went before him? In this video, we'll be going over all 21 players taken before Justin Jefferson in the 2020 draft and how their careers have panned out. Starting with the first overall pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, Jefferson's college teammate Joe Burrow, quarterback from LSU. Coming into the draft, Burrow was the surefire first overall pick, and to this day, nobody will argue that. Burrow was coming off of the single greatest season a college football quarterback has ever had, and these numbers are just insane. In 2019, Burrow threw for 5,671 yards, 60 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions, while leading LSU to a national championship on the back of the greatest college football playoff performance of all time. Of course, Cincinnati was going to go with this guy. He hasn't let up in the NFL either. Unfortunately, Burrow has dealt with some injuries during his pro career, including a torn ACL in his rookie year, but in his first full season as a pro, he would lead the Bengals all the way to the Super Bowl. And even though he lost, this solidified him as one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. To this day, secondaries hate facing the Bengals because they know that number 9 is under center for Cincy. He'd still be the number 1 pick in a redraft. With the second overall pick, the Washington Redskins, now Commanders, selected Chase Young, edge rusher from Ohio State. Chase Young was one of the most dominant collegiate pass rushers of the 2010s, recording 27 sacks in his last 2 seasons at Ohio State, and that translated to the NFL, as he would win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Well, this was the only year that his college success would translate, as he, just like Burrow, would tear his ACL, this time in Young's second season. Since then, he hasn't been the same at all, and he would eventually be traded from Washington to San Francisco in 2023 for a third-round pick. Now, Young looks to revive his career in New Orleans as a Saint and live up to the draft hype. The third overall pick, the Detroit Lions selected Jeff Okudah, cornerback from Ohio State. What a massive bust. Okudah was one of the most hyped cornerback prospects in a long time, and now he's looking to keep his career alive on his third team, the Houston Texans. If you thought Chase Young getting traded for a third was bad, Okudah was traded for a 5th-round pick before the 2023 season. What on earth happened? Okudah looked so promising coming out of Ohio State, but in hindsight, this was a terrible pick by the Lions. At pick 4, the New York Giants would select Andrew Thomas, an offensive tackle from Georgia. There isn't much to say about this pick. The Giants got one of the best tackles in football at a premium pick. With the 5th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins took Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback from Alabama. Tua is a controversial player in today's game. Some love him, some hate him, but you can't say that this pick didn't work out for the Dolphins. After dealing with some frightening injury concerns, Tua has been able to stay healthy, and in 2023 went on and led the NFL in passing yards. But imagine having Justin Jefferson and the eventual Tyreek Hill on the same team. Who would you rather have, Dolphin fans, Jettas or Tua? I think Mike McDaniel would like to have had Jettas, but there was another valuable prospect on the board that McDaniel would probably rather have. With the 6th pick, the LA Chargers took Justin Herbert, quarterback from Oregon. Despite the lack of accolades in his pro career, Justin Herbert is widely known as one of, if not the most prolific passer of the football in the entire NFL. After winning Offensive Rookie of the Year in a super tight race with the guy this video is about, he would go and throw for over 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns in his second season, and yet he has nothing to show for it. He's consistently dealt with lousy coaching and some terrible injury luck from his wide receiver room. Now, with Harbaugh leading the charge, Herbert's career trajectory is on the right path. At pick number 7, the Carolina Panthers chose Derrick Brown, defensive tackle from Auburn. Brown is one of the best defensive tackles in all of football, even breaking the record for the most tackles by a D tackle in a single season in 2023 with 103. The guy is an absolute stud and the cornerstone of the Panthers' young defense. Picks 8 and 9 are a pair of pretty big busts. Isaiah Simmons, a linebacker from Clemson to the Arizona Cardinals, and C.J. Henderson, cornerback from Florida to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Simmons was seen as a generational athlete at the linebacker position coming into the draft, and even though he's playing solid ball with the Giants now, Arizona is severely disappointed with their pick. On the other hand, Henderson ended up being one of the worst corners drafted in the 2020s, right up there with Okudah. He spent some time in Carolina after being terrible in Jacksonville, and now he's a free agent, looking for one more chance to shine. Picks 10 and 11 consisted of 2 tackles being taken: Jedrick Wills from Alabama to the Cleveland Browns, and Mekhi Becton from Louisville to the New York Jets. Wills is decent, but nothing super special for Cleveland, but Becton was absolutely horrid in New York, despite his 6'7", 365-pound frame. Now, he's getting a second chance in Philly with the Eagles. They're even putting him at guard to try and unlock him, but he's still another bust for the Jets. With the 12th pick, John Gruden and Mike Mayock with the Las Vegas Raiders selected Henry Ruggs, wide receiver from Alabama. The first receiver off the board was not Jefferson. Instead, it was a guy who hasn't been in the league since 2021. Ruggs looked like a pretty promising deep threat for the Raiders to start his career, but threw it all away by driving a car 156 miles per hour that unfortunately ended up ending a woman's life. He's now serving time in prison. We'd go back to the trend of good players being taken with the 13th pick, as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers chose Tristan Wirfs from Iowa, an all-pro right tackle and one of the best young offensive linemen in all of football. At pick 14, the San Francisco 49ers selected Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle from Jones College. After a pretty disappointing stint in San Fran, Kinlaw's getting the chance to play next to Quinnen Williams with the Jets in an attempt to revive his career. Pick 15 would be yet another receiver not named Jefferson, as the Denver Broncos selected Jerry Jeudy from Alabama. The second receiver off the board was the second Alabama receiver off the board, and all in all, Jeudy has had a pretty disappointing career. He would almost hit 1,000 yards receiving in 2022, but his ability to play consistent football is in question. He got traded to the Browns prior to the 2024 season, and who knows, maybe playing next to Amari Cooper will be the boost he needs. Will never be Justin Jefferson, though. Pick number 16 would see the Atlanta Falcons select A.J. Terrell, cornerback from Clemson. Terrell has consistently been one of the best corners in football in his career, but after a shaky 2023, he's going to have to re-enter that coveted conversation. With the 17th overall pick, the Dallas Cowboys took the only receiver on this list that could even be argued to be taken over Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma. CeeDee and Jefferson are arguably the number 1 and number 2 best receivers in all of football, and after a 1,749-yard, 12-touchdown performance in 2023, I doubt the Cowboys would take anybody else here. Even Jefferson, they love their guy. That's why they're paying him the big bucks. Pick 18 would see the Miami Dolphins select Austin Jackson from USC, a solid tackle to play opposite Teron Armstead. Picks 19 and 20 would both be huge busts, and the second bust of this draft for both of these teams, as we'd see the Las Vegas Raiders select Damon Arnette, cornerback from Ohio State, and the Jacksonville Jaguars select Clavon Chason, edge rusher from LSU. Arnette was yet another player who left the Raiders due to crime-related issues and was out of the league by 2021. What happened to them in this draft? Chason, on the other hand, had all of the chances in the world to be a good pass rusher, and he just never panned out. He only recorded 5 sacks in his 4 years with the Jags. Now Carolina has given him a chance that he probably doesn't deserve. Terrible draft for both of these teams. With the 21st pick, we'd see probably the most infamous pick in this crazy draft when the Philadelphia Eagles would select Jaylen Rager from TCU, yet another receiver not named Justin Jefferson. And it's not like Rager is a CeeDee Lamb or even a Jerry Jeudy type player. Rager is one of the worst first-round wide receivers in NFL history. He never put up more than 400 yards in a season, and after making his way to the Minnesota Vikings in 2022, he's actually made a pretty decent career for himself as a kick returner with the New England Patriots. Props to Rager for turning it around in a different area, but this will forever go down as one of the worst picks in NFL history, considering who was drafted just 1 pick after him. That brings us to pick 22, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver from LSU. This pick is about 20 picks too late, and I guarantee you that almost every single team that passed on him in this draft regrets it more than anything. That's it. How would you redraft the first round of the 2020 draft? Is Justin Jefferson the first receiver off the board, or would you take CeeDee Lamb over him? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed the video, join the Halftime family and check out some of our other videos. See you in the next one.